Hi, I'm Kat Kremser for Creative Pro, and in today's video, I'm going to show you a few tips for setting up your Illustrator workspace if you're just learning the program. If you've just opened up Illustrator for the first time, you might find yourself here in the Getting Started workspace. If you're curious what workspace you're in, you can always come up here to the Workspace switcher, just click that to drop down the list, and check where you are. If you are in the Getting Started workspace, you will see a simplified version of the toolbar here on your left, and not too many panels open here on your right, but you will see the Properties panel. And you may have this floating toolbar, that is the contextual toolbar. If I click on any artwork in my document, you'll see that changes position and the options available depending on what I have selected. If you're attempting to follow tutorials or taking a class, you may notice that your Illustrator screen looks very different from the instructor that you're following. They may be using a workspace like Essentials Classic or Painting, which gives you a different set of panels on your right and a different toolbar on your left, as well as some extra options up here in the control bar. Essentially, a workspace saves the position of all of the panels and options on your screen, which makes it nice and easy to reset if things get messy. For example, if I've been working in this file for a while, I may have pulled out my color palette. Maybe I've opened a few extra windows that aren't present in this document, and you might find that your screen starts to get a little crowded. This is where resetting a workspace comes in handy, so I can come up to my workspace switcher, and I can come down here and click Reset Painting. That will put away all of my panels to where they started, just to tidy up and give you back your clean working space in the center. One of the first things I like to have my students do when I'm teaching Illustrator beginners is to learn how to set up their own custom workspace so that you feel like you have more control over the process and what's visible as you are trying to learn and work. So usually I have them come up here and start with the Essentials Classic workspace. And if you have already made changes to this workspace, it may look slightly different. So I always suggest going back into the workspace switcher and just clicking Reset Essentials Classic. So now you're working with the default Essentials Classic preset that comes with Adobe Illustrator. What I usually suggest to students is to come to the docked panel bar here where you see all these little icons. Just click and drag to the left until you can see the labels for these panels. I want to point out that since we started with the Essentials Classic workspace, we do have the control bar visible at the top here. This bar is contextual, just like the contextual toolbar we have floating on our screen. So if I select a different shape, or if I deselect everything, you'll see that options up here change depending on what I have selected. If you don't see this bar and you'd like to turn it on, you can come to your window menu and just make sure that control is checked, and you should see those options up there. The third place that we have contextual options in our workspace is the Properties panel. When you are first learning Illustrator, I absolutely recommend having the Properties panel visible in your workspace. So if your Libraries tab is active, be sure to click the Properties tab before saving our workspace. If you don't like the floating bar or you find that it gets in your way, you can click the three dots at the end here for more options and just click Hide Bar. If you'd like it back at any time, you can go into your window menu and just check Contextual Taskbar to get that back. I tend to find that it gets in my way, so I do usually leave that hidden. Taking a look at the panels that we have in this workspace so far, these are most of the panels that you would use frequently. However, you may find that you want to add a panel. For instance, I often use the Links panel to make sure that my images are embedded properly. Anytime you need a new panel, you can always find that under the window menu. So I'll come here to Window Links, and I will just drag that to dock it here underneath the rest of my docked panels. I will close the Actions menu, and I don't typically use comments, so I'm just going to pull that out of my toolbar and close that. Once you have your workspace set up to your liking, you can save a custom workspace by coming back up to the Workspace switcher, coming down here to the New Workspace option, and you can name your workspace anything you like, and click OK to save that. Just one more thing to note, if I do want to make further changes to this workspace, perhaps I want to open another panel that's not visible, like the Pathfinder panel, which I use frequently, I can open that up, drag that in here to dock it, And now if I'd like to update this so that the Pathfinder panel always opens with this custom workspace, I'll come back up to the workspace switcher and we'll click on New Workspace again. There is no dedicated option for update, so you have to go through the process of clicking New, and then just make sure that you name the workspace the same name that you are trying to overwrite. If you've typed in the name exactly the same, you will get the warning that pops up here that says the name already exists, and that clicking OK will overwrite that workspace. So you go ahead and click OK. And now even if I close my Pathfinder panel, I can always come to reset my beginner workspace, and it will pop that back open now that I've saved that into this custom workspace. Creating a learning workspace like this for yourself can really help you narrow down the panels that you're trying to learn or that you use most frequently in your work, and make sure that they are always in the same spot and that you can easily put them away and pull them out as you are working and learning.
Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to give it a like and subscribe to our channel. And for thousands more how-to articles and tutorials, visit our website, creativepro.com, and become a member today. Thanks for learning with us.